Hi, I'm Lillian.
And I'm Felipe.
And we are the Postmodern family.
We are Americans living in the UK, living a traditional family life.
What do you think of our setup today? We are outside in our back garden. The sun is... The sun is directly out. The sun is directly out, and it's gonna hit our faces really harshly. So I decided to take the parasol out. A really cheap one from Lidl, which is why it's multicolored. And that's our story. Today we are going to react to a trailer for They Shall Not Grow Old. You want to sit here?
Wow. Oh, this is the colorized, that's right.
That's amazing.
Peter Jackson.
Who's that?
I was
The maker
16
of
years old, and my
Lord of the
father
Rings.
allowed me to go.
I was just turned 17 at the time.
I was 16.
Wow.
I was 15 years.
When they came to us, they were frightened children and had to be made into soldiers.
Boys, here it comes. We're in the pictures.
I gave every part of my youth to do a job.
Stand this part of the trench over there.
Look at that.
There was a job to be done, and you just went on and did it.
Wow, and 3D.
Wow.
Cool.
So that was this February just
That came
passed.
out in the theaters?
I think so.
How come we didn't go see it?
I don't know, because we're so disconnected from...
Oh, that's when we were moving house.
Oh, yeah.
That was a crazy time.
Yeah.
That looks really cool.
That looks amazing.
Where can we watch this now? Do we have to purchase it? On DVD or something?
I don't know.
Or is it on Amazon? Or...
Let's check Amazon real quick. Humphrey wants to go see it.
He's just such a wreck. Climbing over me, pulling my hair out. All right, we're gonna watch this movie and then we'll talk about it
tonight. Yeah.
And we'll come back and tell you what we thought. So we finished watching They Shall Not Grow Old, and now we are going to comment on what we thought about the film. It was a week ago now that we'd seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was last Sunday evening, was it?
Yeah.
I remember that my first major impression was when it got to the colorful scene. So the first 30 minutes or so were still black and white footage, voiceover, talking about it, and then it just shifted into color. And I think at that moment it was really shocking, just the emotion that came with seeing it in color. It made me feel like these are real people. Like this really happened, and you really think about history in a different way when you see it like that.
Although in the beginning, I was quite impressed by the commentary that the former soldiers were given, which was, we were excited, we wanted to go, we had to do our duty,
and the ones about thinking if they would do it again.
So yeah, they even said, looking back on everything we went through, we would still do it again. We wouldn't change a single thing. And that was impressive because I know that I can't relate because I've not gone through PTSD, but today's soldiers who have gone to Iraq and Afghanistan, we talk about PTSD, and even the ones that went to Vietnam. I can't imagine that those incidents were worse than the trench warfare in World War I. And so for these guys to say, yeah, we'd do it all over again, to me meant that they were really tough, really hard men. And it made me sort of nostalgic and miss that generation of men. Yeah, that kind of manhood.
Yeah. And then in the end of the film, they did get to where people were, they felt really emotional about the whole experience, that they lost so many of their friends that became brothers to them. Yeah, it's not like they were saying it was an awesome time, like a thrill ride or anything, but I think they thought that the world really made men out of them. Even also when they talked about being received back into society and how many of them couldn't get jobs, I was really saddened by that and quite shocked, because I thought that, like, in America, we tend to really uphold our military personnel. Like we give them discounts and they get all this.
They get on planes first.
Yeah,
things like that.
But I was surprised to hear that people look down upon these men who gave up their lives and their limbs and been traumatized from war, and they couldn't, that these citizens just didn't understand and didn't want to employ them. That was really weird. I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah. I think what we said at the time was that most of the soldiers that were interviewed sounded like privates and sergeants. They were enlisted men, and the enlisted ranks were drawn from, I think, the lower to lower middle class rank. And so those individuals probably had a tough time in life already, and perhaps expected upon serving their country that they would advance in standing, and to find that the rigid differences were still
the
upheld.
Class distinctions.
Perhaps that's what happened. I'm just speculating, but maybe that's what happened. They were expecting some kind of advancement within the esteem of the people, and they didn't get it. They were still that class. So I imagine, though, that the officer class, which is generally drawn from the upper class at that time, at least, that they had no problem reintegrating into their class, into the higher class.
I find that interesting that there's such a big class distinction here that in America we don't really feel it, because there's not a particular accent that's tied to class, and yet I feel like we watch a lot of My Fair Lady, and the whole premise of that is like your accent makes or breaks you. So if you can change your accent and your behavior, then you can rise in society. We don't have that at all in America. So
well, it's such. England is such an old society, that time has this impact of developing inertia and boundaries that don't exist or haven't emerged yet in the U.S. What we do have in the U.S., you can tell a low accent straight away. So you can tell sort of folks who don't have an education. At least I can. I mean, most people think. You find them on TV.
Well, we also don't have, in general,
but
class
there isn't
distinction. We
but
just
there
have
isn't
rich
but there isn't a high accent in the U.S. I think that there are several low accents, but not a high accent. But even then, the accent doesn't stop you as such.
Yeah, I mean, there are multi-million-dollar like rappers who just speak in a language I don't understand.
I think it's the same here, though. But what I would rather say is that a soldier who comes back from war and has a low accent is still going to be readily hired by a company.
That's true.
In a good position.
Yeah.
So.
It's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really glad that we purchased this film, and it really opens your eyes to a whole different era. I can't imagine how many hours went into coloring in these films, because you have to do that by hand, right? Like,
I don't know.
You'd have to go frame by frame, I think. and color them in
They probably
digitally. But
I think they
still.
came up with a computer program that applied a criteria to every frame and then just colored it.
I don't know. I think it was probably
But then
more
probably reviewed it after
methodical.
the fact and then did touch-ups. But I don't think they would have done the whole thing by hand.
It was
That's my suspicion.
It was a lot of footage, and I think because it recorded in black and white, it's so hard to think of in reality. So it was really good that they did that they colored it in. Yeah, I think that was the most impressive part about the film, was just looking at it like you were looking at something that could have happened.
The most
last
impressive
week,
part
I
for me
guess.
was the testimony of the guys. It's just so tough, so hard. They were.
Yeah, I can't imagine knowing that you're gonna die. Like, no,
going
embracing it.
over the that's not
Just
it.
going forward.
There's so many idioms.
with
There
that.
are a few idioms that come out of the trenches. I forget them at the minute, but yeah, to climb out of the trench, knowing that you stand a good chance of dying.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Become a patron at patreon.com/thepostmodernfamily. Buy a t-shirt at teespring.com/the-postmodern-family.
We also have music for sale on iTunes. I did a performance and we released 2 albums. The first one is a British patriotic song album, and the other one is French music. So find us on iTunes. You can always just look The Postmodern Family up and we'll be there in your search results. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.